Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. A very warm good morning to everyone. I hope all of you are doing absolutely fine. Since I'm meeting you for the first time in 2023, let me wish you a very happy new year. I hope all of you are doing absolutely fine in this new year. We are here today to analyze a Hindu newspaper for today, to discuss some of the most important articles and news stories covered in the Hindu newspaper from all across the UPSC syllabus. But before we do that, let me quickly remind you about two very important things. First, 6th of January, that is tomorrow evening from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m., we have an Ask Us Anything session. This is a golden opportunity to all of you to attend this live session and ask any doubts regarding your UPSC preparation to all our teachers. As you can see here, Sarmat sir, there will be Mukesh sir, Chetan sir, Sham sir, all of them will be there to answer your questions live. Don't forget to attend the session 7:30 to 9:30 right here on our YouTube channel, where you can ask us anything regarding your UPSC preparation. Also, I hope you know by now that as soon as this session comes to an end, on our Telegram channel, that is the Telegram channel of BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS, we'll have a quiz regarding the things that we discussed in this session. So all the topics that we are discussing today, as soon as the session ends, you will get to attempt a quiz on our Telegram channel from those topics. So just in case you have still not joined our Telegram channel, please use the link given in the description of the video to become a part of our Telegram channel. I also hope that by now all of you have already subscribed to our YouTube channel. If not, please do hit the subscribe button. Please do share these videos with your other friends as well who are preparing for the UPSC Civil Services Examination. Now, without any further ado, let's see what are the important news stories that we wish to cover from today's Hindu newspaper. Now, if you have attended or if you have seen the Hindu newspaper for today, the very first page has this headline about green hydrogen mission. The headline says, Centre government has cleared about 19,744 crore rupees for green hydrogen mission. If you have been following the news story, you would have realized that green hydrogen has been in the news in the past few years. A lot of very big companies in India, be it the Adani Group, be it the Ambani Group, the L&T Group, all of these have been investing a lot of money in building green hydrogen infrastructure. The government has also talked about it multiple times. We have also had the green hydrogen mission that was recently announced by the government. So all of a sudden, this green hydrogen has become a buzzword across the entire country. That is why this news is extremely significant. Because after all these announcements, the government of India has finally approved that they will be spending close to 20,000 crore rupees for the green hydrogen mission. Now, what exactly is the green hydrogen mission? What is green hydrogen? Why is it important? That is where we need to understand. See, hydrogen is not a new fuel. Please do understand this. Hydrogen as a fuel has been used for a very long time. It has a lot of industrial applications. So please don't think that hydrogen is now being used for the first time. The difference is the manner of producing this hydrogen is different for different forms of hydrogen. The manner of producing green hydrogen would be where no CO2 is emitted in the atmosphere, where you just have H2O, that is water. It is broken up into hydrogen and oxygen. If we obtain hydrogen from this simple manner, wherein we are not emitting any CO2 in the atmosphere, this is how green hydrogen is obtained. This is the cleanest form of hydrogen that we can have. Right now, the kind of hydrogen that we use mostly around our industry is actually grey hydrogen. Please do understand this, since it is not given in this newspaper article. I want you to pay a lot of attention here. Grey hydrogen is the hydrogen that we utilize today in most of our industrial applications. Now, how is grey hydrogen prepared? Grey hydrogen is mostly prepared with the help of methane, that is CH4. To cut the story short, when you use methane with water, that is when CO2 gets emitted in the atmosphere and we get hydrogen in return. This hydrogen that we obtain is called grey hydrogen. The problem with grey hydrogen is that to manufacture grey hydrogen, we are actually emitting a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere, which is really bad for our atmosphere. That is why the alternate to it, the cleaner alternate to it, would be green hydrogen. That is where the government of India, and not just the government of India, in fact, that is where most nations around the world are trying to give a push to green hydrogen. You would also know India has already announced that we will achieve net zero by 2070. In order to fulfill that goal, in order to actually achieve net zero by 2070, we have to give a major push to renewable form of energy. And this is where green hydrogen becomes extremely, extremely important. This green hydrogen mission will be run and will be implemented by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. India, in fact, has already generated green hydrogen with the objective of raising the non-fossil fuel energy capacity to reach our net zero target. Now, if you go and see what the government of India is saying about it, you will actually see the government of India has made bullet points for you to remember, for you to actually have a good understanding of this green hydrogen mission. We have taken this photo from the Twitter account, from the Government of India's official account. They have said that this particular objective, that is the green hydrogen mission, would have 17,470 crore rupees spent specifically for this program, 1,466 crore rupees for other pilot projects regarding green hydrogen. Then for R&D, 400 crore rupees will be set apart. Apart from this, the Government of India has also said that we will be able to create about 6 lakh jobs, over 8 lakh crore rupees in total investment, so on and so forth, will be attracted in this green hydrogen mission. Before I go ahead, one very quick suggestion. These kind of missions that are announced by the government in such detail, like the green hydrogen mission, they are extremely, extremely important for the mains examination. There is a very clear trend of the UPSC. Whenever they have to ask very simple, straightforward questions in the UPSC mains examinations, they usually make mention of these kind of missions which are announced by the Government of India. So do make sure that you do remember these pointers. These are not very difficult to remember. Make sure that you actually go ahead and read these points one by one, and these are officially from the side of the Government of India. The Government of India also said that it will lead to creation of export opportunities for green hydrogen, reduction in dependence on imported fossil fuel, development of indigenous manufacturing capabilities, etc. Now, there is one more thing that you need to understand here. See, whenever you talk about any fuel, you can talk about oil, you can talk about gas, you can talk about hydrogen, you understand that one part of this is manufacturing, or making sure that we are actually taking out oil or gas. But the other part is transportation. For example, if a lot of green hydrogen, let's say, is being prepared in a part of India, let's say a lot of green hydrogen is being prepared in Karnataka or Kerala or Tamil Nadu, but that green hydrogen is required to be used in Uttar Pradesh or Bihar or Maharashtra, then you have to ensure that there is proper transportation of green hydrogen from one place to the other place. This is where the Government of India's policy becomes important. A few months back, when the Government of India announced the green hydrogen mission, they announced a very, very important thing which many of you might have missed. So let me remind you here. A few months back, the Government of India announced that we will not put any taxes on interstate transfer of green hydrogen. So if green hydrogen is manufactured in one state and it is transferred to the other state, we will not impose any taxes on that. That was a very big step from the side of the Government of India. Because having fuel or generating or manufacturing fuel at one place is one thing, but then transporting that is another thing altogether. That is also a big, big challenge. So the Government of India is trying to remove that challenge by removing those barriers and decreasing the cost of transportation. Over here, there is one more point I would like to point out. A few days back, there was actually a report that came out from L&T, And all this is not mentioned in this Hindu newspaper article. That is why I want you all to make sure that you pay complete attention here. L&T recently gave a report and said that yes, green hydrogen is good, green hydrogen is the future, but the problem is that green hydrogen right now is not very cheap. Please understand, in order to produce green hydrogen, you would actually need to use renewable energy to break water into hydrogen and into oxygen. So generating green hydrogen is not going to be very easy, and as per L&T right now, the cost of green hydrogen will not be very cheap. L&T says that in the long run, that is by 2050, the cost of green hydrogen will come down and it will become more affordable. By 2050, it will become more affordable, but right now, see, with any new technology, be it solar, be it wind, be it green hydrogen, whenever you have any new technology, the initial days, the initial months will always have a very high cost. It is only in the long run that the cost actually comes down. And the same will happen with green hydrogen also, as per the L&T report. This is where the government's responsibility actually becomes very, very big. The government actually has to ensure that in the initial phase there are subsidies that are provided. Because if green hydrogen is not cheap, it is expensive, doesn't matter how good it is for the environment, the industries will not buy it. For the industries to buy green hydrogen, you have to make it cheap. You have to ensure that the government of India gives enough subsidies for this kind of fuel to become more attractive. So it's not going to change anything very significant right now, but yes, in the long run, it will become better. For those of you who don't know what is L&T, L&T is a very big company. It is, the full form is Larsen and Toubro. L&T, Larsen and Toubro, it's a very big company. It works in the IT sector also, it works in manufacturing also, it's a consultancy also. It's a huge country, it's a huge company that works in very, very different areas. Also, if you remember, a few months back, that is in May, our own Union Minister had made a statement that India is aiming to become the leader of green hydrogen in the entire world. So this is a step in that direction only. Green hydrogen is supposed to be the fuel of the future. It is supposed to be the cleanest and the most advanced fuel, and it gives us a chance to ensure that our temperature of the entire earth does not go beyond our control. So it's a step in that direction, and all the countries around the world are making sure that they don't really depend on fossil fuels and they make a switch to the green hydrogen. Now, there are some other things about green hydrogen that you need to understand. As I told you earlier in the beginning of the class, there are various forms of hydrogen that we have. We have green hydrogen, we have turquoise hydrogen, we have grey hydrogen. These different forms of hydrogen are characterized or classified on the basis of how are they produced. Green hydrogen is specifically used, or it is specifically produced by making sure that there is no CO2 emitted in the atmosphere. To produce green hydrogen, we only use renewable form of energy. So in the entire cycle of producing green hydrogen, we will not do any harm to our atmosphere. That is the entire process. This green hydrogen is colorless, odorless, non-toxic, and it is available in much abundance around the entire world. Our own green hydrogen mission has been running because the government of India seems to be very interested in taking forward the idea of green hydrogen. We have in fact begun to generate green hydrogen recently in Assam, in Assam's Duliajan. There is a petroleum exploration station in Assam where India recently produced 99.99% pure green hydrogen. In fact, the aim is that in the long run, we have to even become an exporter of green hydrogen as well, and not just produce it for ourselves, but produce it for other nations as well, especially the nations in our neighborhood. But for all of that, as I told you earlier, it is not just about generating fuel or energy, it is also about transportation. It is also about making sure that we have enough infrastructure to transport this energy from one place to the other place. That is why the government's efforts towards this and the government's announcement that they will be spending close to 20,000 crore rupees to give a push to green hydrogen seems to be a step in the correct direction. The next topic that I wanted to take from today's Hindu newspaper is from page 6 of Delhi edition, that is the values of local self-governance. Now, I'm very sure in Indian polity you would have read about local self-governance. Whenever you talk about local governance, we usually refer to 73rd and the 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts. Now, these 73rd, 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts majorly ensured that they give a constitutional status to the panchayats and to the municipalities. These were passed in December 1992, meaning that just last month in December, we actually had a milestone. That is, we completed 30 years of giving constitutional status to panchayats and to the municipalities. On the other hand, we have to understand that even though the constitutional status has been given to local governments, we have to ensure that the local governments are given enough resources to actually work properly. You all are very, very familiar with the fact that panchayats and municipalities across the country are not really working up to their capacity, specifically because they don't have enough funds, specifically because there's a lot of interference from the local politicians, from the local governments, and panchayats and municipalities are not being able to perform their functions well. Yes, there are some good points about panchayats and municipalities. They empower the people at the grassroots level. They make sure that the local people living in that particular area also have a say in how their government would work. Let's take a very simple example. If you are living in a village or if you are living in a city, let's assume you are living in a village, and in that village you don't have a school, you don't have a bus stop, you don't have a hospital. In that case, what should you get first? Should the first thing to be made in the village be a hospital, or should a bus stop be made first, or a hospital should be made first? The people living in that area should decide that, and not someone living in the center government or living in the state government. That is why the local governments are so significant. That is why they are so important. Not just this, the local governments, that is the panchayats and the municipalities, both of these also ensure that there is enough representation from all sections of the society. You know that there is a mandate to have 1/3 reservation for women in panchayats and in the municipalities. You know there is a reservation for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes also in both panchayats and the municipalities. These are the good points about this. In fact, one other good point is, because of the 1/3 reservation for women in both panchayats and the municipalities, because of that, India right now holds the world record for having the largest number of women at elected positions across the entire country. No other country in the entire world has so many women at elected positions as India has because of this 1/3 reservation rule. Now, these are the good points about how local governments have been working. However, there are a lot of drawbacks, especially in the working of the municipalities. Although there are a lot of drawbacks, the one and the most important one that actually highlights or that actually supersedes every other problem is the financial drawbacks. The municipalities, the panchayats especially, do not have enough funds on their own. Now, why is that the case? At a time when the law was first passed, the 73rd, the 74th Amendment Act, when they were passed, not many political parties wanted to pass that law. Especially the state governments did not want that law to be passed. Why? Because the state governments always said that we don't have enough money. How can you expect us to give money to panchayats and municipalities? We will not pass this law. The only reason why this law was passed was that it was made voluntary. Remember, it was made voluntary for the state governments to give financial powers to panchayats or municipalities. There is no state government in India that has a compulsion to give money to panchayats or municipalities. They are told it is voluntary. If you want to give money to panchayats or municipalities, you can. If you don't want, don't worry, no one will go to court against you. This is why most of the state governments across the country have not given much financial power to the municipalities or to the panchayats. The state governments say that we ourselves don't have enough money. If we ourselves don't have enough money, if we are not getting enough money from the taxes, how can we give money to panchayats? How can we give money to the municipalities? That should not be the case. This is where the panchayats have been in a big problem. Mainly, municipalities across the country earn from property tax being collected on the properties. Property tax forms a very integral part of the money being earned by the municipalities. That is why in areas where the property rates are high, the municipalities will earn a lot of money. On the other hand, in the areas where the property rates are low, the municipalities will not earn a lot of money. For example, if you talk about Mumbai, it has the richest municipality in the entire country. Why? Because the property rates in this area are actually so high that they earn a lot of property tax. On the other hand, in small cities, in small towns, because the property rates are not that high, the municipalities don't really get a lot of money in the form of property tax, and they don't have enough financial resources to use for the city's development. So all across the country, we have a problem of municipalities not having enough money. That's point number one. Second, the second problem that the municipalities actually face is that there are a lot of local politicians that interfere in the working of the municipalities. Now, I am really hoping that all of you have read the chapter of municipalities from your Indian polity. If you remember, in the municipalities, there is also a provision that we may have a nomination of local MLAs and MPs also. The state legislatures usually decide that. The state legislatures may nominate their MLAs, their MPs also to become a part of their municipalities. In that case, the MPs and the MLAs, when they become a part of municipalities, they also start interfering in the working of the municipalities. This is also part of the big problem. This is why municipalities across the entire country have not been able to work properly. Now, the reason why this particular article has been written in the Hindu newspaper is because of two reasons. First, 30 years just completed. December 1992 was the time that 73rd, 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts were passed. So 30 years have completed of that particular milestone. On the other hand, there is one more very important happening that took place recently. That is in Patna High Court. Now, usually what happens is, in case of panchayats and municipalities, how will they work, their working, appointment of people in the panchayats and municipalities, a lot of that is decided by the state legislature. That is why there's a lot of interference also. Recently, in case of Bihar, the Bihar legislature had actually passed a law. What law was that? Please do remember this. The Bihar legislature passed a law saying that from now onwards, grade C and grade D employees of the municipalities, grade C and grade D employees of the municipalities will now be appointed by a body called Directorate of Municipal Administration. This is a body that works under the state government of Bihar. In short, what did the legislature say? The Bihar Legislative Assembly said that from now onwards, grade C and grade D employees of the municipalities will be appointed not by the municipality, but they will be appointed by the state government of Bihar. This is what the law said, that the state government of Bihar is the one that will actually appoint these employees and not the municipalities themselves. This was a clear indication of the government of Bihar taking away power from the municipalities. Thankfully, this matter went to the Patna High Court, and the Patna High Court struck down this law. This is very rare that a High Court or the Supreme Court of India actually takes a step to empower the panchayats and the municipalities. That is why it is actually a good thing. The Patna High Court for the first time, or let's not say for the first time, but Patna High Court in a very rare occurrence has taken the side of the municipalities and said that no, Bihar state government will not appoint municipality grade C, grade D employees, the municipalities themselves will appoint them. There are some other issues as well with the working of the municipalities, and why is it that they have not been able to make a lot of impact? Why is it that even in the most advanced cities of India, the basic amenities are missing? Doesn't matter which side or doesn't matter which part of India you are looking in, you actually can see that there is no proper sanitation. There is missing street lights that you see, there are potholes. Doesn't matter which city you're looking in, if it rains for let's say 2 hours or 3 hours, the entire cities are flooded. All of that is actually the responsibility of the municipalities. It is a municipality that is actually responsible to make sure that all these things are taken care of, that urbanization actually is done in a proper manner. The reason why it is not being done is, number one, there is financial resources that are missing. There is unplanned urbanization. Unplanned urbanization means, see, the Indian cities were never made to handle so many people. For example, if you ask anyone in India right now, in which city would you find a good job? There is 130 plus crore population of India. Ask anyone, in which city would you find a good job? And the answer will be the same 7 to 8 cities. Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Pune, you can talk about Hyderabad, maybe Chennai, maybe Kolkata. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that all these cities are not really made to handle such huge populations of people. There are so many people who migrate from rural areas to urban areas, who migrate from smaller cities to these bigger cities without any planning. And because of that unplanned urbanization, most of the city's infrastructure is actually now deteriorating at a very, very fast pace, and the municipalities can't really do much about it because they don't have enough funding and enough sources. There's a lot of control of the state governments also, as I told you. The state governments, the state legislatures have been given the power to decide how the municipalities will work. In most cases, they have not really given a lot of power to the municipalities. There are a few states where good powers have been given. For example, if you look at Kerala, I'll give you an example. When you go to Kerala and when you go to, let's say, any tourist spot, etc., you will see that the local Gram Panchayat, the local Gram Sabhas, they have been given the power to, let's say, take the money from parking fees so that they can earn their revenue. In many parts of the state, the Kerala government has also made this provision that if there is a village that is nearby a highway, then the money collected on the toll of that highway, a part of that money also goes to the village that is nearby. So all these provisions are done by certain states in India, but on the other hand, most states in India have not made these provisions. They have not really empowered their panchayats or their municipalities. The municipal agencies also, there are multiple agencies that are working across the entire city. For example, State Electricity Board, Water Supply Department, State Transportation Corporation, all these work at the local level, but they are not under municipal control. Most of these authorities that work to run the city actually report to the state government and they don't report to the municipality, which is also a part of the problem. Then, low level of people's participation. Usually, municipal corporation elections are not taken very seriously unless they are in a very big city. Yes, the Delhi municipality election was taken seriously. It was covered all across the news. But usually in smaller cities, in smaller towns, you will see that even the municipal elections are not really taken very, very seriously. And that is why all these things have ensured that the local government in India, municipalities especially, have not been able to be that effective as we had actually expected them to be. There is also this infographic for all of you to understand what are the key problems that we are facing, what are the key problems that have still not been resolved by the municipalities, and also what are the policy recommendations. All these problems ultimately start with financial constraints only. It is because of lack of financial resources that the municipalities have not been able to work properly. It is because of that that they have not been able to resolve the issues that we are facing in our cities right now. Now it's time for topic number 3. The third topic that we want to take up is a topic that has been in the news for a long, long while. It goes to Supreme Court and it comes back to the government of Tamil Nadu. That is topic related to Jallikattu. Now, if you are from Tamil Nadu, if you are from nearby areas, and even if you are not from these areas, you would have heard about the practice of Jallikattu. Many people call it a part of the ancient culture, the ancient tradition of Tamil Nadu. Many other people say it is just a sport which brings the entire society together. Now, what exactly is Jallikattu and what is the entire issue here? Now, as you know, this is actually a sport cum tradition where the males actually try to tame a wild bull. So there's a bull on the run, and then there are people who run after the bull and they try to tame the bull, they try to bring the bull under their control. The person who actually is successful in bringing the bull under his control, that person becomes a winner. This entire practice is called Jallikattu. Now, it's a part of a very old ongoing tradition in the state of Tamil Nadu. There are two ways to look at it. One way to look at it is, many people are fond of this. Many people say that yes, it's a part of a tradition, it brings the entire society together, it brings all the people together, we prepare for this for many, many months, and then we want to showcase our capabilities. On the other hand, many people say it is actually giving rise to animal cruelty. Because when you see videos of people trying to tame the bull, you actually see many people jumping on the bull, they actually push the horn of the bull, they actually make sure that the bull actually falls down. All of these things can be translated into cruelty against this bull. This is where there are two different groups that are formed. One group that says, no, it's a part of our tradition, it's a part of our society, it's a part of our culture. The other group that says, no, this is animal cruelty, it should be banned. There is a big debate between these two groups right now. Now, let me tell you what the story is. In 2014, the Supreme Court banned Jallikattu in a case called Animal Welfare Board of India versus A. Nagaraj case. The Animal Welfare Board of India made this argument that this is animal cruelty, it should be stopped. So, in 2014, they said, okay, we are banning it. The Supreme Court said that it should not be allowed. But when something like this is banned by the judiciary, when something like this, which is practiced by so many people across the entire state, is actually banned, you have a situation where the people then start to protest. This is what happened. Soon after the Supreme Court banned it, there were people who started demanding that the government should bring back laws to overturn the decision of the court, and this is what happened in Jan 2017. In Jan 2017, the demand started that central government, state government should bring in laws to overturn what the Supreme Court had done. Based on that, the Tamil Nadu government then introduced an ordinance called Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Tamil Nadu Amendment Ordinance 2017 to bring back the practice of Jallikattu. Now, let me again repeat the chronology very quickly. 2014, the Supreme Court bans Jallikattu, saying that no, it should not take place. 2017, under a lot of public pressure, under a lot of public sentiments also, to bring people on the side of the government, the Tamil Nadu government introduced an ordinance to bring back the practice of Jallikattu and said that we will make sure that we take a lot of safeguards, we will make sure that the animals are not hurt, we will make sure that we do not display any cruelty to the animals, but we are now bringing back Jallikattu. Now this matter has again gone to the court. We will have the Jallikattu as a tradition which will come in just a few weeks. This is why this matter has again become important. This ordinance that was introduced by the Tamil Nadu government in 2017, it was later converted into law. This has been challenged in the court again. Animal lovers, people who think that this is cruelty against animal, have again gone to the court saying that the ban should be reintroduced. Why? Because everyone, be it animals also, have certain rights. Rights that allow them to live peacefully. Rights that allow them not to be attacked by anyone. Now, the question here is about a very important article of the Indian Constitution, Article 29, subsection A. I am sure all of you in Indian polity have read Article 29(1). What is it? It says that any section of citizens would have the right to preserve their local language, culture, whatever diverse practices that they have been following for decades or centuries, they have the right to preserve the same. Now, if you look at Article 29, you can simply say that yes, Jallikattu is a part of our tradition. How can the Supreme Court ban it? It is against our fundamental rights if you ban it. That is what Article 29 is. On the other hand, if you look at directive principles, the directive principles say that it is the government's responsibility to make sure that animal welfare is taken care of, that there is no animal cruelty that is taking place in the country. So now this becomes a debate between fundamental rights and directive principles also. On one side of the story, the fundamental rights say that yes, distinct language, distinct culture should have been preserved. On the other hand, directive principles say the government has a responsibility to ensure animal welfare as well. Amongst the historians also, there are different sides of the story. Some historians say, as many people in the chat are also saying, that if you look at Jallikattu, it is a part of Tamil Nadu's tradition. It is a part of Tamil Nadu's culture that has been going on for a long, long time. They also say that because these bulls have to participate in Jallikattu, many people take good care of the bulls. It is the opposite. We don't really have any cruelty, or we are not cruel to these bulls. In fact, on the other hand, it is the opposite. We take care of the bulls. We breed them very well. We feed them good food so that they can become strong and healthy and they can take part in Jallikattu. So many people say it is not cruelty, we are actually doing a favor to these animals. On the other hand, many people say, sorry. On the other hand, other people say that it is not given in any of our ancient text that Jallikattu is a part of our tradition. Again, as I told you earlier, historians are also divided. Some historians say that yes, it is a part of our tradition, while the others say there is no ancient literature, there is no ancient text that says that Jallikattu was indeed a part of our culture. Which side of these two actually wins, which side has a final word, will have to be decided by the Supreme Court only in the coming few days. But before the Supreme Court does that, again reminding you, there is a debate between fundamental rights and directive principles. Fundamental rights under Article 29(1), which says any section of citizens residing in India having distinct culture, language, script have the right to conserve the same. So if you can prove that Jallikattu is a part of our culture, then you would have the right to conserve it. On the other hand, directive principles of the state policy, that is in part 4 of the Constitution, which gives certain responsibilities to the government. It says that the government must endeavor to prohibit slaughter of cows, other males and draught cattle and to improve their breeds, to make sure that they are taken care of. That is why this debate now has reached the Supreme Court, and it now has to be decided by the court which side has the better point. The next article again is from Indian Polity. I will be taking you to the Union Territory of Ladakh. Ladakh is where there has been a long-standing demand ever since it was bifurcated from Jammu and Kashmir. Ladakh has been demanding that we want to be a part of the 6th schedule of the Indian Constitution. Now, all of you are smart people here, all of you are very serious aspirants, I'm sure. So all of you by now would remember all the 12 schedules, right? If you have still not remembered, please make sure that you remember from Schedule 1 to Schedule 12, all these are extremely important for the prelims examination as well. If you look at all these schedules, Schedule number 5 and Schedule number 6 is what we will be discussing here. Schedule 5 and Schedule 6 gives a list of certain states in India that have significant tribal population. Schedule number 6 specifically contains a list of 4 states in northeast part of India. Remember? The 4 states in the northeast part of India which have specific tribal population. Which are these 4? Let me write them down for you. Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. These 4 states have been listed in the 6th schedule. They have certain specific tribal population. Now what happens in this? In these states, in those tribal areas, the government has given them power of local self-governance. How? Let me give you a very simple example. And I'm very bad at drawing, so please don't compare my maps with the real maps. If this is, let's say, the state of Assam, the entire state of Assam will not be sixth schedule. Please do understand. Let's say in the state of Assam, if this is the area where there is a significant tribal population, then only this particular area will be considered as a sixth schedule area, not the entire state, only that area. Now, in this area, which is considered a sixth schedule area, there will be a body established called Autonomous District Council. Autonomous District Council, ADC. Now, what are these bodies? In very simple terms, in these areas, there will be local government that will be formed. They have 30 members. Out of these 30, 26 are elected by the people. People living in that area, they can vote. 26 will be elected like that. 4 will be nominated by the governor. What powers do they have? For certain provisions, for certain subjects, this council can make laws for their local area, like their marriage, custom, tradition, their local markets, fisheries, etc. So their old customs, traditions that have been going on, to preserve those, they can make their own laws. And on those subjects, the laws of parliament, the laws of state will not apply to them. Simple. And the reason is very simple. Their culture, traditions are different from other parts of the country. So to preserve them, to conserve them, to give them an assurance that no one is taking away your culture, no one is taking away your traditions, we give them this particular freedom that you make your own government, you make your own laws on certain areas. However, please do remember, even in these areas, when they make a law, that law will go to governor for his assent. It's not that they are free to make whatever law that they want. Please do remember this. Just like the state legislature passes a bill, it goes to governor for his assent. Similarly, in these areas also, when the autonomous district councils pass a law, it has to go to governor for the governor's assent as well. Now coming to the story. Ladakh, ever since it has become a union territory, it has been bifurcated from Jammu and Kashmir, has been demanding, we also want that we become a part of the sixth schedule. Why? They are saying that earlier when we were a part of Jammu Kashmir, we also had that special status under Article 370. So we also knew that our land will not be taken away by anyone from outside the state. But now we don't have that special status. So now they fear that their land may be taken over by outsiders. Because see, what happens, that this is very real. When you go, let's say to a place like Ladakh or any hill station, you spend a holiday, many people think, oh, that's a very good place. I will open up a cafe here. I will open up a restaurant here. Don't you have those thoughts? You only have those thoughts for 2-3 days when you are on a holiday, then you come back. But usually, when you go to these places, your thought is, oh, I'll open up a restaurant here, I'll open up a hotel here. Many people actually buy land in these areas for their business expansion, because of which the locals living in that area actually do not have the power to own their own land. That is why people of Ladakh wanted that we should be in the sixth schedule, so that our land should not be taken away. We should have the power to regulate our own land. Their demand has not been accepted by the government of India. The government of India has given its own reasons, and we'll discuss that. But now what has happened is, just a few days back, there was a high-powered committee formed by the government of India. Why? The committee is given the responsibility to look into measures to protect Ladakh's unique culture and language. So government of India has said that we will not bring you in the sixth schedule right now, but don't worry, we will protect your heritage. Don't worry, we will protect your culture. You don't have to worry about that. This is why this committee has been formed now. Now, there are a lot of reasons why people from Ladakh are wanting to be a part of the sixth schedule. One, as I said, they think there will be outside interference, so they want to preserve their land, their culture. Secondly, if you look at Ladakh's population, as per the last available census, 80% of Ladakh's population is actually tribal. As per 2011 census, 80% of Ladakh's people are actually tribals. So they say that since most of us are tribals, we need to be in the 6th schedule. But the problem is, 6th schedule is specifically for northeast states only. As you know, those states which have tribal population but are not in northeast are in the 5th schedule. They are different set of states. They have not been given so much autonomy. 6th schedule is specifically for northeastern states only. So in order for Ladakh to be included in the 6th schedule, you have to amend the Constitution of India. So a constitutional amendment is required, and we also have to make sure that once Ladakh has been given this status, we will have demands from other parts of the country as well. The same thing happens every single time. When there are demands of, let's say, having a new state altogether, if one state is made, then all of a sudden many other states also start making the same kind of demand. Similar will be the case with Ladakh. So government is not very keen on including Ladakh in the 6th schedule, but they have at least made this committee and said that we will protect you, don't worry. The government of India has also said that we are spending enough money in your development. We are making sure that there is no interference from outside people in Ladakh, so you don't have to worry about that. If you look at the 6th schedule, as I told you, Ladakh does deserve to be there, because if you look at how much of their population is actually tribals, as per the last census of 2011, 80% of their population was tribal. Now, since the latest census has not been conducted, many people say that the number might have gone up to 90% also. Not just this, National Commission for Scheduled Tribe also recommended that Ladakh should be in the 6th schedule as well. So yes, it needs a constitutional amendment because it was specially for the northeast states. But if you look at provisions, Ladakh does deserve to be there in the 6th schedule as well. Coming up is the last topic from today's Hindu newspaper that we want to discuss. This is a topic about, there are some topics that you wish that you do not have to discuss. There are some topics that you wish were never covered in the news. Why? Because you wish that these things never happened. But the reality is that these things are a part of our society. These things actually happen, and that is why we need to talk about this. The big problem in India in the past few years, especially for young girls, is the acid attacks that take place. The acid attacks, these kind of news very, very frequently get covered in the newspaper, especially when you see there's a guy who, let's say, is in love with a girl, or who proposed a girl, the girl said no, and in return you see that the guy actually throwing acid on her body, on her face, etc. That is what is an acid attack. Now, acid attack is a problem that many countries are facing, and not just India. Usually we don't focus on a lot of news outside India, but the reality is in Bangladesh also, acid attack was a huge, huge problem. Now, there are many reasons why acid attacks actually take place. One big reason why acid attacks actually take place is the easy availability of the acid. In most of the countries around the world, acid cannot be bought so easily just over the counter. But in India still, you can very easily go to a shop and buy an acid. Why? Because in India, acid actually has a lot of different applications. Acid is used in many laboratories as well. It is used in our chemistry labs as well, in schools and colleges and universities, etc. Acid is also used for cleaning purposes. You see, you go to your home, you can ask your mother, your parents, etc. Many of them would have used acid to clean some parts of your houses as well, which are very, very dirty. So acid actually gives you a very affordable alternative for cleaning purposes as well. But the application of acid, which was only meant for cleaning purposes, it is now being misused for many, many other things as well. This is where the problem now starts. As per the National Crime Record Bureau, NCRB, the number of acid attacks are not going down. In 2021, 153 men were charge sheeted, means case was registered against 153 men for acid attacks, But the problem is only 7 of them were convicted. Only 7. The problem with these kind of cases is it is very, very difficult to get enough proof, enough evidence. It is very difficult for a person to be finally punished. And that is why it gives encouragement to other people also to take up such heinous acts. As I gave you an example of Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, acid attacks have come down drastically. Why? Because in Bangladesh, what have they done is, government has brought 2 laws to control and prevent the selling of acid over the counter. Because of this, Bangladesh has been able to control this problem to a very, very large extent. But India still has not been able to do that. There have been multiple laws or there have been multiple bills that have been introduced in the parliament to completely ban acid in the entire country, but the bills have not been passed so far. Why? There are various reasons for that. As I told you, acid in India has multiple applications. It is used in education institutions, it is used for cleaning purposes, it is used for industrial purposes also. So you cannot ban it entirely unless you have an alternative to it. Banning something entirely is never an option until you can actually provide a better alternative. Since we don't have an alternative to that right now, we have not banned acid completely. In 2008, a bill was introduced, but again, it did not go through. After the infamous Nirbhaya case, there was a committee formed called Justice Verma Committee. This committee suggested that acid attacks should be given very high punishment, and that was done. Acid attacks now have a minimum punishment of 10 years and maximum of imprisonment. But again, the problem is punishment will only be given if you prove it. That is where the entire problem starts. There is not enough evidence, there is not enough witnesses to prove that this crime actually happened. So we never reach that stage of actually punishing a person who is responsible for this. The Supreme Court of India also has asked the government to regulate the sale of acid, and there are some steps that have been taken. I'll give you some examples as well. But the other part of the problem is many of these attacks actually take place in the rural areas. And in the rural areas especially, there is hardly any acid attack case that is registered. Rural areas are the ones that have been facing more and more of these issues. Girls living in these areas are the ones who are subjected to these heinous attacks. But even then, we don't see a lot of these steps being taken in the rural areas especially. There have been multiple bills introduced. There is a private member bill introduced as well. As you know, private member bill is a bill introduced by a non-minister to ban acid sales in India, but again, that has not happened. Now, I see a question here from Prince. What steps were taken by Bangladesh to reduce acid attacks? See, the one step that they took was they made it very difficult to buy acid. In Bangladesh, if you have to buy acid now, you have to give a proper proof of your document. Why do you need it? And in Bangladesh, now you can only buy acid for industrial purposes and for nothing else. Only if you have to use it in the industries can you buy acid in Bangladesh, and otherwise you cannot. But in India, that has not been done so far. There are a lot of different suggestions given by many people. Government of India also has tried to introduce certain things. Let me give you certain examples of what the government has done. First, the government has amended Poisons Act of 1919. Under this act now, state governments are asked to make their own rules about selling of acids. So rather than actually making rule at the center government level, it has now been left to the state governments, because law and order is a state government subject. State governments have been asked to make rules on how to regulate the sale of acid. Second, data has to be maintained over who is buying acid and for what purposes. So if someone comes to buy acid, you have to maintain data. Who is this person? Take an ID proof, maintain that ID proof, etc. There are age restrictions also. Only people above the age of 18 years can buy acid, but I don't think that is more of a deterrent, because most of the acid attacks that you see actually are attacks which take place or which are conducted by people who are above 18 only. Then the SDM, subdivisional magistrate, which I hope many of you will become one day, they have also been given the power to confiscate acid stocks from those shops, from those retailers who do not have any authority or license to sell those, and accountability has to be imposed on the shops that are selling acid. Anyone who is selling acid has to make sure that it is preserved and it is not misused by any mean whatsoever. All of these things are suggestions and are being implemented from the side of the government of India. These are the important topics from the Hindu newspaper today. There are a couple of practice questions based on these topics which you can practice. First, what are the continued challenges for women in India against time and space? This is a question that I have asked because UPSC asked this question in 2019. So UPSC asked this question in 2019. You can give various examples, including that of acid attack as well. Also, second question, strengthening of urban local bodies can lay the foundation of a truly federal nation in India. Do you agree? Critically analyze. Both these questions have to be answered within 250 words each. Also, as I told you in the beginning, as soon as the session ends, we will have a quiz based on these topics on our Telegram channel. If you have still not joined our Telegram channel, use the link in the description of the video to become a part of it, and you will be able to ensure that you actually join that. I'll take a couple of very quick questions and then we will end this. I have a question coming up. What is Kargil Democratic Alliance? So, if you look at Ladakh, Ladakh has only two districts. One is Leh, one is Kargil. So in these Leh and Kargil areas, there are some organizations like political parties that have been formed. In the Kargil area, that is a political party, which have been demanding that we should be included in the 6th schedule. That is the Kargil Democratic Alliance. It's kind of a political party formed in the Kargil district. Okay? Perfect. Thank you so much for watching. I hope all of you have a very, very good day ahead. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.